Okay, y'all, so we're in week 3 of Erin Patterson and her murderous mushrooms. Now, keep in mind, this was a short week as the judge was basically like, look, we got to get some procedural stuff done behind the scenes. So y'all are going to, we're going to go easy on you jurors. So let's go ahead and get caught up on what's been going on down under.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup at hey.
Okay, so remember how on the day of the lethal luncheon that Erin had already set up the little alibi, the kids have to go out and they had a little friend with them. Well, the son's friend had testimony. It was written testimony from the friend. And so remember, he kind of spent the weekend, hung out, all this type of stuff. Now, he stated that the children were all told on Saturday morning that they were going to be going to the movies, McDonald's, while she did this, luncheon or whatever. Now, he said that he did recall seeing the white dessert plates in the kitchen. And then he dropped a line that literally the jurors were probably chilled to their bone, and he said that Erin seemed like her normal self after lunch. So I'm over here like, okay, what is her normal self, right? Now, also, remember how Erin was supposed to be essentially dying at the hospital like all of her victims, but instead, what was she doing? She's running errands. She's taking her son to flight school. Okay, well, the flight instructor would also testify. Now, they asked the flight instructor, okay, tell us, what did you think of Erin? What was she like? And I'm going to quote him. He said, there was nothing of note. She seemed quite easygoing, just a typical mom, taking her son to a weekend activity. Now, I'm going to put on the screen here a little bit of a conversation that he had with Patterson the day after the lethal luncheon, and I'll just read it. You can read along with me or just listen. He said, I called Erin to let her know I was running late and asked if I could push the session back from 2 to 4. Then, after being informed about the poor weather, I phoned her again around 3:48 to cancel. She got grumpy at me and said it was unfair she had to drive for an hour and asked why I didn't let her know earlier. I explained that I was on a motorbike and couldn't reply sooner. Now, I want to say this about that because these little things right here, nuggets, are so telling. I've been in this situation, maybe you have as well, where somebody cancels something last minute where you've really gone out of your way to get there, and it's hello. However, his excuse, it's I get it, he's on a motorbike, so he too was look, I probably did all this driving and now I can't do it either, right? But when she was it's unfair, I really think that this is a, what do you call it, a glimpse into her, what makes her think, what makes her tick. Because I think she's a professional victim, and I think she probably revolves around things being it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. So then I almost want to put the lens of everything's unfair to me, nothing's whatever, through her eyes looking at these victims of hers. It's easy to see what she thought of with her husband, Simon, her estranged husband, right? We can come up with 4 or 5 things that she would think is unfair, but it's the other victims that I question. So maybe we'll figure that out along the way. Maybe we won't. Now, we're also going to hear from another person from the hospital, Rhonda Stewart. Now, she would interview Erin to learn more about the luncheon. And this is very interesting to me. So she said that when she entered Erin's room, the children, Simon, they're all there, right? And Erin asked if they could be excused while they spoke. Before I give my little opinion or thoughts on it, let me read a snippet from the conversation. I'll put it up on the screen. And when a conversation, her testimony, I should say, you can read along or listen to me. Rhonda said, I quizzed Erin about the mushrooms. Patterson said she used 2 different types of mushrooms. One came from the supermarket in a container with plastic over the top, so I presumed they were button mushrooms. And she said that they were mushrooms from an Asian shop and they had a strong smell. When I asked Erin if she had been foraging for mushrooms, she replied, no, I only use store-bought mushrooms. She relays to the jury that during the interview, Ms. Patterson asked why I was questioning her. I said it was my job to determine if there's a public health concern. Okay, so pause for a second. Let's put our little Sofa Squad stuff on. Remember, if you've been following this, remember how I want to say her sister-in-law, someone of that flavor, was in the room, and the nurse or somebody like that came in, and Erin was like, no, you can stay. And she's like, how is my potassium? Is it any Wilkes level? Right? But when Simon and the kids are all that, she's like, oh, can we be excused? So, and I take that I read into that testimony in that way as her being like, can they, can we have some privacy or whatever? My first take on that, again, not a doctor, not a therapist, not a cop, none of that, is I'm like, Oh, she didn't want the kids around, number one. She does seem to have some level-headedness when it comes to the children in that capacity, where she's not wanting to pull them into stuff to a certain degree. And I'm probably going to eat those words, no pun intended, because even if I say that, I'm like, what are you saying, Paul? Right? But she seems to have an awareness around the children. What motivation that is, it's probably still selfish, but nonetheless, it's there. Because what I was getting ready to say is, interesting that she wants an adult in the other situation to be in the room that could relate information back to other people, to be like, oh, well, girl, I was in I'm in Erin Patterson's room today. Oh, girl, her potassium? Oh, no. No, they told her, ma'am, you're not wearing no salmon libbies. Not for a week. Nope. Not even the little tan hose with a little trinkle on the outside and the same. Can't even do it. Your potassium's bad. We need to get you fixed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but then when it's like the other people, but you would think she would want Simon in the room for sympathy. But I think the only reason she didn't do that is because the kids were there and she didn't want them around. So like, that's the part of the self-awareness. But again, I'm probably going to eat those words. Any which way, let's keep going. Now, next, let's talk about another doctor who was like, yeah, girl was fine, okay? So many of the doctors are just like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with her, right? When we saw her or whatever. So let's talk about this next one. So it's Dr. Laura Muldoon. Now, she, again, is another physician that looked at Erin and whatnot. And then she commented that when she first saw Erin, she was like, and I'm going to quote, Erin looked well apart from having chapped lips. The prosecution also asked if she saw any like bio or chemical evidence of death cap or any other type of poisoning. And the doctor was like, no, her blood test, her vital signs, everything's like normal, okay? She was also asked by the prosecution if Erin happened to have the packaging for the dried mushrooms. And she replied, I'm going to quote her, Erin said she put the Asian mushrooms, into another packet. So the original packet is gone. She said they were dried and that she'd used the entire lot, so there was nothing left over. Now, this is the one place where Erin seems to really have her story on lockdown, because it's almost like this. It's like almost like in her mind, she was like, I'm going to go forge the death caps and put them in a thing and just literally pretend like from this point forward, when I'm asked to recount evidence, if I ever am, because I don't think she thought she was going to get caught at this point, I'm going to treat it like those mushrooms, like I had gone in the Asian market and gotten these. So she probably did get the death cap mushrooms, and she probably did put them in a thing with a container, and she probably did put them in another thing. You see what I'm saying? To make it sound, because it's so intricate. But again, as you notice, it all revolves around no tie back to that market. Now let's talk about a mushroom expert that got up on the stand and knows so much about this website and everything, Thomas May. Now, they would begin describing the iNaturalist website for the court. Remember, this is like, if you've been following this, you'll know this is the website that's like, oh, hey, we have death caps over here, and not just death caps, but other stuff. But it's believed that this is where Erin found the death caps at. So they went into like super duper detail about how this works, way more than the prosecution did for their opening statements. Now, I'm going to do a couple of quotes from the testimony here. One of them was, iNaturalist is a publicly accessible website used to document all natural observations with location and a photo. It's the largest citizen platform for mushrooms, with more than 440,000 images for fungi in Australia being uploaded by February 2025. Users do need an account to post observations, but you do not need an account to view observations. Keep that in mind, okay? Now, the prosecution would wrap up this testimony by basically trying to like do the blame the Asian grocer scheme that they're trying to run with. And by extension, this almost might have exonerated Woolies, right? Now, the prosecution would ask about the lifespan of the deadly mushroom, both out in nature and refrigerated after collection. And this is what May had to say about that. I'm gonna quote, they can last up to 2 weeks. Now, Rogers next asked May to explain how that time span compares to that of commercial mushrooms, to which he replied, I'm going to quote again, commercial mushrooms will last longer because they are not infested with insects. So after they suggested that it was like super unlikely that these mushrooms that Erin used were store-bought, the prosecution wanted to make sure that the jury was well aware of where death caps don't come from. Okay, now I'm going to put this headline up here and just read from the dialogue box of it. You can read along with me. So death cap mushrooms do not grow in China, court told. world. The court has been shown a distribution map of death cap mushrooms across the world. Under questioning from the prosecution, mycologist Thomas May said a study of the death cap from China in 2010 concluded that currently there is no evidence that Amanita phalloides, I hope I'm saying that right, occurs in China. He said that there was doubt about whether they were recorded in South Korea, Japan, and Far Eastern Asia. Now I'm going to post a couple of photos up here on the screen so you can look at it, but these came from iNaturalist back in May 2023, and he recorded 2 different sightings. So you might recall, if you've been following this along with me, that during the prosecution's opening, they alleged that Patterson traveled to 2 different areas of Victoria where the death cap mushrooms were growing shortly after the sightings were reported, okay? You can kind of like piece together all the little dots with her. Now he would say a couple of things up there that would literally make you think, okay, are you up here for the prosecution or the defense? Okay. And one of those things where he said there's mushrooms that grow around Melbourne that look like death cap mushrooms, such as the stubble rose gill mushrooms, and that one's edible, and the marble death cap, which is, you know, as the name suggests, is poisonous. Now he also did indicate that some of the same like mushrooms and whatnot that are in the same genus as like the death cap are, and I'll quote him, safe to eat and are consumed in some countries and regions, including Asia and China. So you see where it starts to get like, okay, this might be a little bit of a win from his, Annie Wilkes over there. Now, it's gonna be honestly interesting to see how the defense will use that, and if they can, and if the prosecution kind of switch that around on them. If you keep in mind, Erin's basically like, oh no, this was all accident. This is all accident. I didn't mean all that. Okay. So if you have like, a waffling juror like we just kind of saw on the Lori Daybell thing, this could be what, tilts it or whatever. Now the defense did have a good time up there too questioning him. Sophie Stafford would call him out on the redirect, and this is what she said, I'm going to go ahead and quote. She said the identification of poisonous mushrooms is problematic. Then they showed him 10 photos and asked him to identify like which ones are consistent with death caps. And then in summary, he said for all of these images, there might be a possibility it could be something else. Okay. Now the defense was like, hold my beer, wait a second. So you're telling me there's a chance up in here, right? And they ran with the so there's a chance moment. I'm going to put this little box up on the screen and we'll read through it together. So it says the defense put it to May that meant there are limitations of what can be observed in photos of purported death cap mushrooms, to which May agreed. The defense then showed May a red dotted map of reported death cap mushroom sightings across the Melbourne region. The defense put it to May that those reported sightings, which are logged by many scientists, may be problematic as the photos may not provide enough information to confirm they are death caps. May agreed and noted there has been a growing emphasis on the need for multiple photos to be submitted alongside observation reports to increase the accuracy of identification. So the defense kind of went along these same lines, and she got him to say this on the stand. There's no way in the wild to distinguish if a mushroom is toxic or edible. It is generally only after consumption that it can be determined if a mushroom is deadly. The Amanita species contains both types of mushrooms. So yeah, y'all, this is, she's getting some wins over here, okay? So, and I'm sitting here thinking this, like, let me get this straight now. So the only way you can tell if you got the poisonous mushroom is if you eat it and then you just start getting sick. Okay, yeah, I ain't eating mushrooms ever again. Now they would also kind of dig in deeper. May had conducted like the study about like the accuracy of apps when using to identify poisonous mushrooms and whatnot. And they'll get him to admit this. Also, I'm going to quote him. Yes, there is concern about the apps which use AI technology misidentifying certain Australian species. Okay. Now, the cross-examination of Dr. May would conclude with the defense asking him to explain mistaken identity in the context of mushroom poisoning. And he says, and I'll quote him again, "This is when a person thinks they are collecting one thing, but instead it may actually be toxic." He says this is the most common form of poisoning. Now, again, 100%. 1000%, 10 million %, that is what Erin is trying to say she did. Okay, but I think she's trying to say she bought them, she didn't forge them. I personally think she would have been better off talking about, I picked them on accident, right? Oh, I didn't know. I went out foraged. I thought it was this. Her mistake so far, well, the mistake is trying to kill your whole family with the mushrooms, right? But let's get past that part to like trying to cover it up. One of her many mistakes is trying to play it off like she bought them somewhere, right? I don't know. I'm not a professional. Let's keep going. So on that note, let's was kind of rounded out. So again, if I was a juror on this, and again, y'all know as much as I do about this, right? We're just gathering intel over here and just coming back at it, but we're not in the courtroom, we don't know. But if they were sitting here talking about there's a high probability, it's hard to tell the difference, this, that, and the other. So far, the only thing for me as a juror is, and there's a lot of other context where I'm like, well, why is she lying about this? And why is she doing this? And I really don't like her behavior over here. But again, I probably would be like, I think it was an accident if she had forged them. But the fact that she's so heavy on the Asian market thing, that's where I'm like, and you can't produce the place, and you forgot this, and you forgot that. She would have been so much better off, number one, if she had not done the iNaturalist searches, okay? And she had just got, but like, how are you gonna find that? Because I 100% personally believe that she did this unintentionally, obviously. I'm just trying to think on both sides of the fence. If she had not done the iNaturalist thing or gotten rid of that evidence somehow, and then was like, no, I went out, yeah, I foraged mushrooms, I know a lot about them, but I mean, I thought they were this. I had no idea. But also that she ate, this is another huge thing, that she ate some of them herself. And I'm talking a little bit, and then almost at a certain point was like feigning the stuff and being like, I don't feel good, I'm gonna go ahead in. You see what I'm saying? Now again, my understanding is it doesn't matter the amount, and I could be wrong, I'll correct me here, but it's almost like a death cap poisoning is a death cap poisoning. Like, yes, if you maybe do one versus a whole bushel, clearly, right? But it's almost like you're going to get incredibly sick. And this is how I equate it. One copperhead bite versus 3. Either way, your butt's going to the hospital and it's not good, okay? So if I was her and trying to get away with it, I would have, number one, not done it, okay? Number two, I would have not gone on the thing, I would have forged the things, and I would have planned on, if I was getting caught, talking about, no, I went right over here and got this. And so that way you could have other people be like, oh, wait, no, there was a sighting over there. But she was probably too involved and too much evidence of that to play that off properly. And then I would have been like, as much as I don't want to do this, I'm gonna nibble on these a little bit and get sick. I would have lined up the story for the kids in this way. I would have been like, they don't like mushrooms, and so I made them a separate meal, and I wouldn't have made them the beef Wellington. I would have made them something totally different with not mushrooms in it, right? Because someone's like, well, why did you go do all this? How did they not get sick? That way they're completely left out of it. And I wouldn't have said I got them from the Asian market. I mean, period, end of story. I mean, she just, again, it baffles me the level of ignorance with this for somebody who is such a true crime fan. And I don't know if fan is the right word, but you know what I'm saying. So anyways, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you're still watching, hey, I thank you. And while you're down there, if you could drop some sofas off for Rosco and Spirit, Bo and Luke are actually off getting the old snipperooski right now, and myself and the Sofa Squad, so we'll all have a place to sit, talk about these crazy cases we follow here at the Sofa Squad. And until we gather around that sofa to do that and forage the cases, I'll see y'all soon.
I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Rosco on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey, welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup that hey, come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.